Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's meeting of the South Planning Committee. Item 1, apologies for absence and appointment of substitute members.
Thank you, Chair. You will note the appointment of Councillor Harry Barrett to this committee. I've received his apologies. There is no substitutes, no other apologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any? No, thank you very much. Item 3, the minutes. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 5th of October. May I do that? Thank you. Item 4, Chair's announcements. Yeah. As per the email and calendar invites circulated by Democratic Services, the date of the December meeting of the committee has been changed from Thursday the 14th of December to Thursday the 7th of December. And now my regular announcements. This meeting is being webcast on the Council's corporate YouTube channel. Therefore, could all of you, those speak, please utilise your microphones when doing so. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm does sound, evacuation instructions will be given by officers. Please ensure that any devices are switched off or onto silent mode. Thank you very much. Item 5, pre-committee site visits.
Thank you, Chairman. There's 2 sites I'd like to propose for pre-committee site visits. These are the same 2 sites that are mentioned in the minutes for the 5th of October meeting officers proposed for site visits. I can explain that there was a slight delay. There has been a slight delay in determination of the application whilst further information has been collated by our local plan team. It's now considered that we will be able to proceed to determine the applications and they will go to the December meeting. So I'll just clarify for the record the 2 applications. Application reference 2023/5711/PIP. That's permission in principle for the development of 8 to 9 custom stroke self-build units, land at Poundfield Road in Pottersbury. And then the second one is 2023/6117/MAO, and that's an outline planning application for 11 service plots for self-builders and public open space land to the east of Forest Road, Piddington. Now, there's an important point of clarification I just want to make, which is that the second of these, the Piddington one, is a major application, so that will come to committee irrespective of officer recommendation. So that one I'm definitely proposing for a site visit, and that would be on Tuesday the 5th ahead of the Thursday the 7th meeting. The second one has been referred to committee if recommended for approval. So I just want to, I hope I don't complicate things by caveating that if that is recommended for refusal, that then becomes a delegated decision, and clearly we wouldn't then proceed with a site visit. So sorry to slightly complicate things, Chairman, but it would be both applications for a site visit if the Poundfield Road one at Pottersbury is recommended for approval. Should that one be recommended for refusal, it would just be the Piddington one, which needs to come to committee irrespective of recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Will that be reported in the minutes? Thank you. Item 6, 2 Fieldway, Helmden. Mr. Callis.
Thank you, Chairman. Bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, thank you. So item 6 is an application to divert a public right of way in Helmden. The footpath is to be diverted is AP30, which runs from the eastern edge of the village, connecting with AP25 in the southwesterly direction to connect with AP29. The diversion is necessary in order to facilitate the implementation of planning permission WNS 2022-1712 FUL, which was granted under delegated powers in December 2022. That permission is for demolition of an existing lean-to building and in its place, the erection of a larger extension to the main building for the purpose of storing vintage tractors. So in terms of the proposed diversion layout, you can see the existing alignment running from A to C, and then the purple lines, hopefully not especially clear on this plan, but continuing diagonally on across the field. The length from A to C is 32 metres, so quite a short distance. Point B is the point at which the the new route would divert to, and that's only a distance of approximately 8 metres away from the existing alignment. The existing route and the diverted route both have a grass surface because the public right of way just crosses the paddock. The diverted route would only be about 8 to 10 metres longer than the existing route, and the designated width would be 2 metres. And just to give some context as to the reasoning for the diversion, you can see the existing building in green, the proposed building in a sort of peachy, pinky colour, the existing line of the public right of way cutting through that in a sort of blue colour, and then the diversion route in orange. And just to give some context, AP30, this is Helmsden, AP30, you can see towards the top of the village, and it connects with AP25 and AP29. There's quite an extensive network of public rights of way in this part of the village, connecting the north half to the south half. And just finally, a little bit of context as to the existing site. You can see in the centre there the collection of buildings. The central piece of that, the lighter grey area, is to be retained. The southern area would be demolished and replaced with the extension. And you can see how the public right of way at the moment just cuts across diagonally across that paddock. With regard to updates, there are no updates on this item. The recommendation is that the committee approve that an order be made pursuant to section 257 with delegated authority to the Assistant Director for Planning and Development to resolve any outstanding objections, firm and unopposed order subsequent to this meeting. And in the event that objections remain, the draft order is still opposed, the committee would also grant delegated authority to the Assistant Director to refer the matter to the Secretary of State as necessary. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Roger, is there anything you'd like to add? Are there any questions from members? Councillor Bagot-Webb.
Thank you. I'm just a little baffled by why this has come to committee, but put that to one side temporarily. I look at the plan and yes, the footpath runs currently across, let's say, a larger piece of open space. There's obviously a building going on it, and it's been diverted, as we've seen on the plan, by almost a triangle approach, but it virtually touches the building. I'm just baffled as to why the footpath is diverting so you can rub your hand across the building as you walk by. Why is it not further away? And why has it come to committee?
Mr. Callis.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I mean, in terms of the proposed alignment, it is just to keep the route at its shortest possible length. People, I think when you have public rights of way across open fields, people will just sort of meander across the field. Sticking to a specific alignment is not always very easy. And yeah, really the intention was just to keep the formal route as short as as possible in that regard. In relation to why this has come to committee, as I understand, the current scheme of delegation doesn't allow for this to be dealt with by officers under delegated powers. So the process is to bring it to committee for approval to move to the next stage, essentially, of the order process. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Barter.
Yes, for information more than quibbling about things. But I wonder if the original planning permission for this building that you quote in paragraph 3.1, was that in any way conditional on the footpath being diverted? Because should we choose to turn this one down or anything like this, presumably that makes building to the original planning permission impossible.
Mr. Palace?
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, essentially, the two are fundamentally interlinked. The planning permission has been granted. There is clearly the requirement to have the public right of way diverted before you can commence that development, because otherwise you would be obstructing the public highway as soon as you brought the diggers on site. So, yes, if the order wasn't made, you hypothetically would end up in a situation where you had an unimplementable planning permission.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not looking for anomalies, but I do like them when they crop up.
Okay, well, moving from the questions to the debate, Councillor Bambridge.
I propose we proceed to a
Thank you.
decision on it. I'd like to propose it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bagot-Webb. Does anyone wish to speak? Those in favour of the proposal to approve according to the recommendation? Thank you very much. Those against? Any abstentions? Any abstentions? Thank you. Right, as there are no more items, there's no urgent business. I close the meeting at.
Sorry, Chair, could I, before the meeting is closed, I would like to express my concerns with regards to this planning committee convened for the sake of one particular footpath. Surely there is some sort of mechanisms where these sort of things can be actually diverted to the officers. And secondly, is there any way that this meeting could have been postponed until, the December's meeting, and then it could be incorporated with that? And it would save, from an ecology point of view, everybody actually travelling here for this particular very, very minor application.
Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Chair. I will leave the technical planning related answers to my planning colleagues, but members will note there were two items on this agenda, this footpath application and 123 Wellingborough Road in Northampton. That was on the agenda for determination, and that was published with the agenda last week. However, that item was withdrawn earlier today yesterday rather, by the applicant. So we would have had two items to consider, both requiring a decision. It is in that event of that withdrawal that we only have the single item to consider tonight. So there would have been a second item.
Having said that, surely that following the withdrawal of the application yesterday, that we could have been informed early this morning that we didn't need to attend this particular meeting.
With regards to the law, the meeting's convened under the Local Government Act, and when the agenda is published, we can't then cancel the meeting. So because the meeting's been published and advertised, we have to convene it. Even if it was a single item agenda with one item that had been withdrawn, it would still require reporting to that committee that that item's been withdrawn. But in this instance, the addendum, the written update, was published this afternoon advising that it had been withdrawn, and late notice was received by the council. So unfortunately, we can only deal with what we're faced with in that regard.
Mr. Roger.
I think perhaps there's a sort of actually a really key point here, which is the scheme of delegation point, and officers are looking at this very issue at the moment. So we recognise that, dare I say it, that this is perhaps the sort of proposal that could be dealt with under delegated authority. So that very question is being looked at this moment, and I've discussed it with the Assistant Director of Planning and Development, and it's likely that we will be acting quite quickly to answer that particular question.
Thank you. Councillor Barter.
Well, I'd just like to say, with all due respect to my esteemed colleague, I don't actually agree. Presumably, this application is important to the applicant. We've just heard it may well be holding up implementation of another planning permission. And that's our job, to turn up and approve it or not.
Thank you very much. With that, may I close the meeting at 17 minutes past 6? Thank you all very much for coming. Have a safe journey home.